What happens when a former president slaps the world with tariffs, gets sued by California, and sends a little known American stock skyrocketing overnight? Today, we're breaking down the Trump's economic shockwave, what that's doing from global trade fallout to rare earth power plays, what's actually going on, and how Trump is playing 4D chess. Whether you love him or hate him, Trump is shaking up the global economy again, over and over, over and over and over. Every day we wake up, it's like something new, and it's exciting, it's fun. Some people are in fear. Some people are like, what the hell's going on? And I've got some bold takes on what's really going on behind the scenes. So let's dive right into it. So first, California versus Trump, the lawsuit war begins. Now, is this theatrics? Do they actually have a merit-based lawsuit that's possible? Well, we'll dive into that. So California is the first state to sue Trump right now over his new tariff policies. And if you dive into that, the lawsuit claims that the tariffs hurt state level industries, tech, agriculture, shipping, etc. Now, we're looking at this, and this isn't just politics. This is state versus federal power in real time. And what happens, we see this a lot definitely in the state versus federal. We've seen this even with the federal and the state with Maryland and the governor there. And the question is do they actually have a case? So is this about economic protection, or really is it about political theater? Right? California always positions itself as a progressive resistance, as the leading charge behind it. But are they protecting business or playing politics ahead of 2026? And so if we dive into it, legally, California's case is ambitious, but very, very shaky, actually, if you look at the legality of it. Trade and tariffs decisions are typically a federal power handled through Congress, okay, and the executive branch. States don't usually have standing to challenge federal trade policy unless they can prove direct harm, unless that is actually proven to the state's economic interest. And even then, it's a stretch. Like, what kind of evidence can you bring to say, hey, it is actually bringing economic harm to it? So to win, California would have to prove that Trump's tariffs are either two things: unlawful under the federal trade laws, like the Trade Expansion Act, or a violation of constitutional protections, like the Commerce Clause or equal protection. Now, that's a very elongated process. So that's a high bar. And courts are generally hesitant to interfere with executive power on international trade. Now, optically, though, okay, theatrically, right, this is a political goldmine for California and the far left agenda. It's a loud signal to their voter base that they are fighting back, right? It's good for donations. It's good for preparation for 2026. It says, hey, look, we're fighting back against what Trump is doing, right? So it's great political theater. But legality and legally, it's a really faulty, it has really very little merit, okay? And so we really believe that the political optics of this, very strong, and of course it's sexy, and I think it's a great positioning for the liberals, but sadly, I don't think they have any legal case on this. Now, what's interesting is the World Trade Organization sounds the alarm. Are Trump's tariffs backfiring globally, right? Now, this is the question that we're always looking at. So revised global GDP forecast 2.8 to 2.2 in 2025. That's a decrease, right, by quite a bit, actually. That's a major dip from what we were expecting, what we're seeing. Protectionism versus free trade, the classic economic debate resurfaces. We are seeing a lot of conservatives saying free trade holistically, no matter what. But obviously, you're getting a huge pullback from Trump and his leadership and his cabinet, realizing, okay, are we trying to do America reset? Right? A lot of these trade deficits, a lot of these trade organizations, a lot of these trade conversations have been taking place for the last many 50, 60 years, but nobody's actually resurfaced them and said, hey, look, do we need to renegotiate these? And that's kind of what he's doing right now. And obviously, many people have talked about this. Trump's not wrong about dependency on foreign goods, but will the fallout tank the economy before we rebuild domestically? And so the question is look, we do have a very large dependency on foreign goods and on foreign nations to build and create and do all this stuff to bring it here, to sell it here in the U.S. The question is we're trying to redevelop this into rebuilding the infrastructure of America, manufacturing. A lot of the goods are here in the U.S. and all that stuff and built here. The question is what's that timeline look like? Right? You have to build the infrastructure, manufacturing. You have to hire. You have to find skilled workers, and a lot of that skilled work is not here anymore in America, right? We've kind of gravitated or graduated from that more of manual labor to a little bit more of services and other higher exclusive structures and skilled workforce. So that's the question we have to ask ourselves. is the long term. Yes, there's going to be obviously a transition, but what does that transition look like? And obviously, can we get it done in 2026 to make sure that Trump is and the Republican Party is able to keep control in 2026? The midterms are right around the election and people are rock and rolling, and that will affect everything. If they were able to perform, if the Trump administration is able to perform, then we will see a huge 2026 victory for the Republican Party. If they don't, right, there's a lot on the line and it goes and dips into the recession, what's going to happen is you will see a huge fallout from the Republican Party, and you'll see the liberals take over the Senate or the House, as well as numerous other different gubernatorial races throughout the nation. And so short-term pain versus long-term pain, okay? We understand that at the end of the day, long-term, we're seeing, in theory, the tariff structure and this tariff mindset can be a huge upside potential in regards to gross domestic product, unleashing the full might and power of America and realizing what we're capable of doing, eradicating all the regulations and things like that. That will be huge for really allowing America to go full throttle. The question is this short term? Now, there's been a lot of conversation where we've seen the Trump administration had to negotiate these tariffs. And if you think about it, if they had to act in very odd and bizarre and crazy ways, because all of a sudden when you're adding a 50%, 60% tariff on it, and then all of a sudden you're able to bring it down to 10%, that's actually good compared to obviously something really hurtful. And so at the end of the day, he was able to negotiate a lot of these tariffs at a 10% tariff, which is a really good, amazing opportunity there. So again, the question is, strategically, did he have to come over here and act erratic a little bit to be able to get people to the table in a quick manner to be able to solve this issue in a very quick way? And now we have, and many of these nations are at a 10% tariff, which is great. Now, of course, China and EU, that's something that we have to ask ourselves. Are they going to retaliate? I see EU being able to fall around and basically saying, hey, look, we want just a working relationship with America, and that's awesome. China, on the other hand, they do have some leverage on the US. Most of our rare earth minerals, which I'm going to be talking about here shortly, rare earth minerals are coming from China as well as Russia and other places. And so we are relying on that. Also, they have a huge, they own a lot of debt on our, they loan to us quite a bit. And so the question is financially, we are very reliant on them. And so they have a lot of leverage on the US, which is not a good thing. But the question is are they willing to retaliate, knowing that they're going to wake a sleeping giant economically as well as militarily? So now we're going to dive into U.S. rare earth source. Trump's strategic mineral power play. What is he doing? Why is it important? And what the heck is going on? So Trump's plan to stockpile critical deep sea metals trigger a surge in U.S. rare earth stock. Right there, it says, look, we want to basically hold a large supply, because what happens is anticipation that if China retaliates regards to rare earth minerals, saying, look, we're not going to go ahead and trade with America anymore. Well, what happens is all of a sudden we don't have that import coming in. Well, naturally, what's going to happen is there's going to be a deficit there. And so what he's basically saying is, look, hey, we're going to go ahead and create a stockpile in anticipation. If this happens, I'm okay with it because we have a long enough runway for a rare earth mineral. The question is it going to be enough to be able to get China back to the conversation, back to the table to discuss tariffs and what that looks like? These minerals are essential for EVs, electric vehicles, smartphones, defense tech, aka the future, everything that we've got going on. And there's a huge, massive demand for it right now. And the only large supplier right now is China. That is the one economic leverage that they have against us. And that will be devastating if we're too reliant on that. Hence, one of the reasons why with Ukraine President Zelensky, he was talking about negotiating a deal with Russia and Ukraine, as well as America, making sure that we're able to also have the rights of minerals there for the rare earths. This is about the supply chain independence from China. We really want an independent supply chain from China. I think one of the things is during COVID, we saw that, the reliance that we had. And again, that's very strategically and economically, that's a weak spot for us. And so again, we want to make sure that we are defensible where, okay, hey, look, if they cut down the supply chain, all of a sudden we still have all these other opportunities, all these other things we've got going on. This is Trump's most strategic move in the past 6 months, we truly believe. The media talks drama. This move signals real intent to rebuild national strength. It just shows to us and it solidifies, look, Trump and their team, they're willing to go to war, metaphorically speaking, with China to make sure that they get the best tariffs and the best economic machine with that. And they understand the U.S. economic machine as well, because guess what? China, and the question is are they thinking, hey, look, we can cut off that supply from to America, and we're willing to do that. But also all those goods and all those things that we're selling into their economy, are they willing to set all that off? And then also all the goods that they're selling to America? And we are huge consumerism. And I think a lot of nations and a lot of individuals and a lot of economic theorists, they really underplay the consumerism of America. And is that a direct correlation to China's growth and success? Yes. If you see a lot of it, yes, we've got a lot of things, a lot of manufacturing, a lot of stuff being built there and being shipped over and being sold here in the US. And if they decide to go ahead and cut off the supply chain for rare earth minerals to the US, well, we will naturally go ahead and also stop them, allowing them to sell all their products and all their services here in the US, which economically, it will destroy their root of their machine, their economic machine. So could this be a hint toward a 2026 campaign theme holistically? Imagine this, visualize this. Imagine the Democrats say, okay, look, we don't want the tariffs. It's hurting the middle class. It's hurting all this stuff. And that's their campaign. Well, imagine the Republican and the Donald Trump thesis is energy independence, industrial power, and strong America. Now, the question is which one's going to win in 2026? Right? What's the most powerful political motivation and political move that will actually produce the best result? Right? So that's the way we think about that. I just want to share that in regards to underlining what's actually going on here. And again, this is Trump's economic war, the tariffs, lawsuits, and power moves unpacked. So stay tuned until next time. Cheers.